I call the Honourable Member Phil Twyford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. It's my pleasure to contribute to this debate on the National War Memorial Park Pukeahu Empowering Bill. Sir, this legislation would not have been necessary if National had not taken away the project funding that Labor had allocated in the closing period of the fifth Labor government, and the park would have been ready for the 2015. It would have been ready, sir, for the 2015 centenary of Gallipoli, and we would not have had the need in this House to pass empowering legislation if that had not been done. But, sir, I want to say that Labor supports this bill. We believe that New Zealanders will see the need for this legislation, that New Zealanders will appreciate the plan that's in place for this War Memorial Park. And I want to say to the Green Party members here today, sir, enough with the sanctimony. Enough. I feel absolute exasperation, sir, that the Greens would come here and lecture the House on this bill, sir, because it overrides the RMA, because it overrides the Historic Places Act and the Public Works Act. These bits of legislation are not some kind of religion. They are not our constitution. They are legislation that we have there to govern the process of resource management and land use. They are practical bits of information that are there for practical purposes. And this project is not, we're not rebuilding the Clyde Dam. We are not desecrating some national landscape. What we are doing is converting a piece of urban cityscape into what will undoubtedly be a fantastic national memorial for the people of Wellington and the people of this country. And I urge the Greens to reconsider their position on this. So this, as Ian Lees-Galloway said, will be a park of national significance. And I want to just talk in the minutes remaining about how this is an exercise in constructing and building a special place in Wellington for people to come, a place of contemplation, a place of reflection. And I think it will be a tremendous contribution to our national life as a country. Like other members will have done, I've looked at the concept drawings for the memorial park. I think they are appropriate, they are grand, and they will leave as a legacy for this country, sir, a really special place for people to come and reflect on our history and on the sacrifice that generations of New Zealanders have made, men and women who fought overseas and those, excuse me, particularly who gave their lives. And I just want to stress how valuable it is to create places like this. And I think there are one or two others in New Zealand that I can think of, sir. The Waitangi Treaty Grounds are another place where the history is palpable when you are there. It's a place of reflection when you can contemplate this nation's modern history. I think, as Andrew Williams said, that the Cenotaph at Auckland War Memorial Museum is another similar place. And in another city that I'm familiar with, sir, in Washington, D.C., where I lived for several years, the Lincoln Memorial was perhaps my favourite of all the Washington memorials, an amazing place where people would go day and night to remember the abolition of slavery, the Civil War, and in fact the Civil Rights Movement. And that particular place in Washington, D.C. is a remarkable place to go and visit, sir, and just soak up the ambience to reflect and on the country's history. I also wanted to just note that it's interesting, I think, that in order to create this park of national significance, it's necessary to remove the traffic from this place. And it would be unthinkable to build a war memorial park of the kind of scale and the ambition and the quality that we all want for this park without getting cars out of it by building a tunnel. And increasingly in our cities, people are recognising that it's time to reclaim the streets of our cities from the car, sir, because when you do, as we have done for so many years, build our cities around the motor car, it creates uncivilised environments that are not fit for pedestrians. They're not fit for people to spend any time, and they're certainly not fit for places of reflection or contemplation. And I think that we're seeing more and more in our cities a pedestrianisation and a reclaiming of our streets from the cars. The last point that I wanted to make, Mr. Speaker, is about the number of provisions that Labor is requesting be inserted into the bill as a condition of us supporting the legislation. And we asked the Select Committee to consider these matters. First, that the role of the review panel that's established under this legislation be widened to include oversight of the consents. And given the range of consents and the overriding of appeal rights under this bill, sir, we think it would give the public some confidence that in the process, if the review panel is given this widened role, and that's especially important in terms of the environmental and heritage considerations. We've also believed that the review panel should report on its work on a regular, perhaps 6-monthly basis to a select committee, such as the Regulations Review Committee. We would also like to see prior consultation procedures with interested stakeholders before orders in council are proposed, and the community forum that this bill would establish, sir, could fulfil that role. And finally, we would also like to put into the law a role for the community forum in being consulted on the design of the park. And I know that Grant Robertson, who's the local Member of Parliament, has some concerns about elements of the design of the park, particularly around vehicle access, and we think it would be useful to involve the local community and interested parties in the design of the park. This bill, sir, sets the stage for what we believe will be a fantastic memorial for those who have given their lives overseas for our country. It will create an outstanding public space in Wellington and for all New Zealanders, and particularly for people of the Mount Cook community. This is going to be an extraordinary addition to their community.
Oh, yeah.
I want to finally, sir, pay tribute to the former Prime Minister Helen Clark, whose vision it was after the opening of the tomb of the unknown soldier to develop the National Memorial in this way, sir. And Helen Clark had that vision. She took the initial steps. Funding was put in place, and the process was set in motion to build this memorial park. And Labor, sir, is pleased that the government has finally come to its senses and brought this bill to the House. Thank you.
Honourable members, is the member seeking the call? Honourable members, the time has come for me to leave the chair and the House for the evening dinner break. This sitting is suspended and I shall resume the chair at 7:30 p.m. this evening. Haere rā, ka kite anō, good evening.